It's midnight, and I'm under the car again. Infiniti M45. Oh, that doesn't look pretty. And why? I'll tell you why. Because of this. See all the scuffing over here? This was as a result of a driver hitting a dip in the ground on the road. And it was bad enough, like, look at all the scuffing going on. Even the bottom of the stabilizer bar got hit. And a little bit of the rubber, the bushing. Well, at least on this side, it got pretty nicely. Look at that. These were new. I mean, I'm hoping. No, I'm just shaking it, and obviously it don't have as much force as a car. But, I mean, the reason we're even down here, the reason we even noticed this was because of that. An oil leak. This is the oil pan of the M45. And as designed, the stabilizer bar is supposed to take your first hit, and you have this plate here, supposed to protect it as well, maybe rock chips or whatever. That's the only reason, that's the only purpose I see it serving, honestly. You know, and maybe catching oil that drips from this side. Let's see, 192,240, and the car has 195,000 miles, so about 3,000 miles ago. I did it myself. That was like a month ago. But so the biggest problem we're facing is this. You see that? It's oil. It's an oil leak right there. Because, as you can see, this cracked. And you can see where the oil is coming from. Right there. Not good. No bueno. I mean, it's not too bad. It's not too serious that this thing is, you know, gushing oil. But give it time and you'll be able to see the oil leaking. Thing is, I don't know. Does it leak worse when it gets warmer? Less? Does the pan end up sealing itself? Experience tells me it's gonna leak a little more with temperature. So there's that. That's a major one. You can see that crack line over there. And two is something here. I keep wiping that and I see a little bit of weeping over here. Right there. So there's something going on over there as well. Check it out. There you go. Little pinhole, huh? There you go. You see it? The tiniest thing. The backside doesn't look like there's much action going on. I'm happy that the bolt, the drain bolt over here, the drain plug, seems okay. But either way, it's not going to be a pretty affair. What I'm thinking about is, which might also help with the draining, is actually drill a hole at the end of that crack, drill another hole here, which will mark that, you know, basically stop the cracking at a circular point, so it doesn't go any further. Then from there, I'll, you know, use crayon. That is based on advice from someone I talked to from the forums. That's at least how he ended up repairing his. And not only that, to, you know, it will stop the leaking just long enough. There you go. You see it weeping again. Just the slightest thing, right? It's going to stop the weeping long enough, or any oil that's going to come down long enough for me to be able to put JB Weld and for the JB Weld to cure. And, well, first off, I'm livid because I have to get my car out of the garage, my 08 M45, and you guys have seen my videos. You know I love the hell out of that thing. And it's a funny story, actually, why this thing is in my garage right now. So it was my car. I worked on it for a while. Well, muffler, great. Worked on it for a while, and handed the car over to my dad. But maybe a month ago, I really can't remember what the transaction date was. But I gave it to my dad, and yeah, sure enough, he's barely had it a month, and here we go. You know, my brother wrecks it. brother gets into some kind of accident with it. Cool. And so what I did is I told my brother, hey, go ahead and there you go. I'll explain this in a little bit. Oh, where is it? The decline stuff. There you go. For inspection tires, blah, blah, blah. I don't care about all that stuff. There you go. He called around and, you know, he was getting quoted $1,800, $1,500, $1,300 on the lowest person. And, you know, we're thinking, well, that's pretty what I expected. But this dealership quoted $700. And so they quoted $700, and I'm thinking, okay, don't think about it, just take it. You don't even bother with it. And I told him, but before you take your car there, please make sure, call him to confirm. And he said, well, I called him again, and they said, unless there's anything strange, $700 is all you expect to pay. So thing is, they had gotten the VIN number of the car, the VIN. I always feel like saying VIN number, not just VIN. And using the VIN, they quoted him the $700, right? Makes sense. And so he gets the car there, and they call him back like, hey, it's a V8. It's not gonna, 700 is not gonna cut it. You know, at first it was $700, $400 for labor. Sorry, $300 for labor, $400 for the pan. I said, well, that's almost double for the price of the part, but the labor can be beat, so get it, do it. So I'm a little pissed, and at first they write us this, you know, when I went there later, they write us, you see this $150 diagnostic fee, and I'm a little disappointed in that. I say, well, why should we pay for that? The guy that actually wrote it down had left for the day. The other guy was like, I really don't know. All I know is that you guys seem to owe us $147. And I was like, okay, makes sense, makes sense. So I look at it and I'm thinking, okay, well, first off, we brought our car here. We used a tow to bring the car here based on information you gave us. You gave us a quote. You had a VIN number. You should have verified that. And two, we know that there's a hole in the pan, or we know that the pan is leaking. You know, why are we paying a diagnostic for you to tell us what we already know? I don't know if it took a whole hour for them to look at it and see. And not only that, states that there's an oil leaking from the lower oil pan advice, okay? Find the oil pan leaking at the gasket and stress crack. Replace the lower oil pan and gasket. Customer declined repair for $2,850 plus tax. Oh man, well, first off, you guys gotta look inside there. This is not made that way. This is not the V6 or whatever it is. Yes, there is a stress crack, but no, it is not leaking from any gasket. There's no gasket to leak. The way this oil pan is set up, the gasket is all the way up there. Anyway, entertain yourself. Look for VK45VE oil pan, or just look at the engine layout. It's not like that. There you go. I'm trying to go for the mating surface. That is where the mating surface is. Yeah, I agree it's not the prettiest thing, but on the other hand, there's no gasket that's been compromised over here. So these guys were kind of blowing smoke up our tailpipe, as they say. So I think I'm going to try JB Weld repair on this, and we'll see if that helps. But for now, let's just get to draining. Give it lots of time, and we'll see what happens, right? So we're trying to make moves. So far, the car is jacked up. The front is jacked, but resting on a jack stand over there. The rear has been jacked a little higher. It's not resting on anything, at least not for now. My thinking is that if anything happens, it's a pretty stable jack, but if it loses, you know, its hydraulic holding capacity, the car is just going to lower in the rear, which is not going to be too bad. But the reason I'm doing it that way is so that, oh well, it's already stopped trickling. But I did it that way so that I could drain the oil pan a little better, a little more thoroughly. As you can see, the drain is on the front right corner of the oil pan. So I needed to find a way to raise the rear as high as I can, and then tilt it to the right side as well. So this, at least this one part has been achieved. You know, the car is generally tilted onto the right side. And then the second part was raising the rear a little higher than the front. And I have to do it in such a way that I don't compromise myself. Like, so that wheel, it's kind of, the contact patch I could tell is getting a little thin. This one's pretty stable. And as I said, right here, this jack stand is supported on there, so it's not going anywhere. The rear is the only active part, the only live part right now. So I'm jacking it up, trying to drain as much as possible. The other thing I've done is come here and I tried to mark where it's coming from. You can see the Sharpie. It's kind of letting go still, but hey. Then here, there you go, I marked that one as well. Because once everything has stopped dripping, it might be actually a little hard to know where it is. So at first I thought it came from the crack there. You know, the fault line. Not to say that the fault line is not causing anything. It's just that I don't think, not anymore, I don't think that's the main cause of concern. So I had to come and draw another little rectangular piece over there. It just got it in the right way, so I'm gonna do my best to drain that. I'm gonna leave that draining for a couple of days. Jack the car up a little higher, you know, do whatever I need to do to tilt it over. So it's probably not the best thing for the suspension, but hey, the car's not moving anywhere, and it's not, this is not dynamic, you know, it's just kind of staying in one position. So I'll keep jacking it up and hold the rear a little higher, as high as I can, and hold this side a little higher as well. Just make sure this thing is well tilted, because the hole in there, it's not like it's at the very bottom, the hole actually protrudes in there. So while making the repair, I might actually need to keep it tilted, you know. And as I said, I plan to drill some holes into the oil pan, you know, just thin drill bit, and I'm hoping that is what is gonna drain anything that's left in the area. So that's gonna have to be good for now. Today I've got the car, well, I jacked only the front, but it so happens that the rear comes up as well. And of course I've got my jack stand over there under the subframe. And this time, the reason I jacked it that high was so I could get my drill under here. And what I did was actually drill the oil pan. I had put this string in last night to try and wick out whatever oil I could. But obviously, you know, there's a string and an Allen wrench in there. Can you see that? There it is. We're shining on the end of it. So obviously it's not going to drain it completely. And I wanted to come and drain it a little better. So I had marked the cracks, the places that this thing was leaking from. So, man, do better. There you go. Here was one of them. You know, it just kept leaking from there, so I came out and drilled 2 holes and expanded it a little bit. This one leaked for just a short while, not too long. Sorry, there it is. Then here, this is a crack. You can see the fault line over there, stress line. So I drilled the end of this to stop that crack from propagating. I hope I got the end of it. I did, you know, what I thought was the very end. And the same thing on the other side. So that side is dripping a little bit, understandably, because the car is slanted onto that side, like that. Then out here, I came and I drilled here 2 spots again, because there was a slight crack. And I hope my thinking is right, is that, yes, there was a crack, but I might actually have better luck plugging a hole rather than plugging a place that JB Weld cannot even go into. So here I'll come back and probably, I'm thinking to myself, probably actually hit it with a Dremel or cutting wheel, so I can make the crack a little bigger, so that JB Weld can actually get in that crack. You know, it's very, very slight. It's sort of a hairline crack. But my concern is that, okay, so what happens, you know, once this whole thing expands? And what I'm planning to do is actually kind of cover the whole bottom once I've gotten this part, you know, kind of plugged up well. Everything that kind of got scraped, it's suspect to me right now. And especially that one. I just feel like it's going to be one of those places that weeps once the engine is, you know, the oil is hot enough, or, well, for one, it's not allowed to hit anything anymore. You know, I mean, I got lucky because the threads were not affected, so definitely happy about that, you know. From at least from as much as I could see, that would have been quite a problem. And the backside was also pretty clear, you know. I checked and there was no oil in the back, you know, except from what's dripping going backwards. So that's just where we are. As I said, I might decide to get a cutting wheel and just kind of clean this up, make this groove a little easier to fill up, or maybe I'll just get sandpaper. But yeah, why not get a Dremel or a angle grinder, you know, just kind of Dremel's a little finer and a little more control, so I can just trim out the, you know, widen it. I'm not really fond of this idea, but I'm contemplating it, drilling here a little farther so it can actually drain from the lowest spot. But then I remind myself that I don't need to do that. I can just tilt the car the way I had it yesterday, whereby tilt the back a little higher and still slanting to this side, and this right here is going to be right about the lowest point, you know. And what I could do is actually just leave it level and just let it find its own level, you know, or just tilt, you know, yeah, have the front all the way to the ground, and this right here is going to be the lowest point. It kind of has to be, you know. Well, this one or this one of them's gonna be. So let's check it out. All right, I just wanted to share my progress for today. And now we have a little pan over there. It's actually the lid of a detergent bucket. That's all that's collecting oil. There isn't much oil to be collected right now from the holes I had drilled. That what looks like a stream is still the wire that I had. It's still dangling over there. Not the wire, the string that I had to wick oil out of the oil pan. So I still have that. In addition to that, because I drilled the front bottom of the oil pan, in addition to that, I've got, well, yeah, it makes sense. I mean, the front is where the drain bolt is, right? In addition to that, this wheel is chalked, C-H-O-C-K, right? The wheel is chalked, and the rear is jacked. The rear wheels are off the ground. There they go. They're not, no jack stands for this. It's just kind of dangling there, and it's sort of even. It's a little bit slanted to the other side, as we take this seriously. I've got, you know, spare level over there to know exactly how things are. And, well, I collected all the oil I had. As I said, it sounded normal to me, but I wanted to collect the oil, and I usually prefer, make sure this doesn't break on me. I usually prefer clear jugs so that I can check my oil, check for oil shavings or anything like that. I didn't really see anything strange coming out. I can account for that foil. I know what that is. I know where that came from. But other than that, it's pretty clean, I think. Now I'm really curious about that leaf, and I gotta figure it out. So I'm gonna filter it out and feel for that. Figure out what it is exactly. But this oil is pretty dirty. As I said, it's about 3,000 miles. The Walmart synthetic oil, Super Tech. I'm gonna have to change it out. I must have had quite a rough. It's actually pretty interesting when you pour oil into something that had cooking oil. It sounded like it was hissing, so that was interesting. Did not expect that. Otherwise, I'm pretty confident, pretty comfortable with how things are looking. Not too concerned about it. So I'll just let that drip away for a day. Then tomorrow I'm gonna jack it up from the front so that it's tilting to the back in a way that there's going to be no oil at the front of the oil pan. You know, give it another 24 hours or whatever it is. There's not going to be any more oil at the front of the oil pan. Anything that should be there should have leaked out by then. So, well, that's part of the adventure. Let's keep going. Hello. It's another late night in this household. And I removed the oil filter. It's dripping on there. Well, this was after I thought I drained it as well as it could. And then I let this other part sit flat. I drilled a bunch of holes over there, by the way, some in the back, some in the front. And my goal was to let it drain out as much as possible. So, as I said, I drilled a few more holes. And then I hit it with the sandpaper, which is there. A thing way in the back. It's really dirty. This is sandpaper. Then I used my Dremel as well. As you can see, hope you can see it, I tried to polish in between the holes. Right? Focus. There you go. I polished it with, I used a cutting tool with a Dremel, so it wasn't too aggressive. Then I couldn't really see too many, that deep of a crack. But again, I've expressed my concerns with, okay, it looks good right now, but what happens after the oil pan gets hot, right? Then drilled, that hole was existent. Drilled, those were the two terminating holes. There was a hole somewhere here. There you go. This hole hasn't really dripped anything in a long time, so that's just hanging out there. Then I drilled like 3 of the holes there, 3 or 4, I really can't remember. So that's where the drain plug goes, and I took the, that far corner. And what I'm thinking is happening right now is basically oil is sloshing through the baffles and finding its way down, because I had raised the front of the car, which would, you'd expect that means that all the oil will go to the back, right? And now I'm sitting here thinking to myself, should you have done that? Should you have tried to really drain the very last of the oil? Or should you have just kind of assumed there was some oil sitting out there and just worked in the front where the impact was, And then I got here with one of those steel brushes. Is that what you call it? The polishing ones. And I put that on the Dremel and went over it, and that's why it looks blackish. It's just polished aluminum. That's what it is. So, I'm gonna leave it for another day. I don't know how long exactly. And be prepared by Sunday. Sunday is basically when everything goes down. If for whatever reason something hasn't stopped dripping on Sunday, plug it up. Crayons, soap, whatever it is, just plug up the hole and go around it with JB Weld. My preference is to have JB Weld in the hole as well as outside, but we'll see how it all shakes out. Okay, that's gonna be it for now. And this is the stuff that I used. Pretty good stuff. It's magical. That 2-part epoxy stuff, pretty good. And the stuff, that means it's water safe too. Drinking water safe, that is. So, maybe, was it $8? I really can't remember. But it's working wonders. Definitely beats the $2,850 quote we got to replace the oil pan, right? There's some things that we need to still work through, like fog light, cracked fog light over here. It needs to buy that, right? But for the most part, this car is good. Ready to get back on the road. Alright, first things first, here's the car. Runs like a sewing machine. It's a well-oiled machine. I already popped the hood. Let's get to it. Nice and smooth, right? Everything good, everything clear. Luckily, my brother was able to, notice the oil leaking before anything major happened to it. So right now it's been jacked up with a jack stand, of course. Nice steady stream of pee on the passenger side from the AC, which I turned off, by the way. Now I'm gonna go down into the car. Let me get a flashlight first. This is all the oil, all the related stuff that we've been working on. Flashlight, paper towel. There you go. Guess I don't need the flashlight, huh? Here are the patches. You can see that. Looks a little different, doesn't it? Here's the first one, right here. Here's the second one. Lengthwise. Here's the third one. It's right here. And this is just me smearing oil. Smearing the JB Weld, well, Blue Magic stuff, so that, I don't know why I did it, just to make it stand there. And I also put something here so that I would be able to see if it hardened when it hardened. And this stuff is magical, no oil leaks at all. Pretty confident in what I'm looking at. Looks pretty good. No oil at all. I can't remember if I recorded the holes that I drilled underneath here, but so I drove like this for one day, and the purpose was to just see any oil leaks that that would be evident. But so far, I think I'm pretty confident in saying that this car is fine. No oil expected. It would be an interesting challenge to check it out in the winter or when cold water hits it, but I intend to put the undershield to protect it, and hopefully nothing bad happens. Woo. There go the fans, but yeah, everything's quiet. It's a pretty nice engine, right? Alright, it's too hot, so this is over for today. Bye-bye. And what do we have here? This is day 2, and here I'm looking at the work of my hands, making sure everything's good. The reason I'm checking it today again is because I took it to a car wash and did my best to test it, whereby this thing's hot, right? The oil pan's hot, and spray with cold water, cool-ish water, see what that would do to it. And it seems like so far it's still holding up pretty well, but I'm gonna go ahead and poke my head and camera underneath there, make sure everything's good. As I said, the leak had been right here, and there was a crack, there was a hairline crack over here. So what I did was drill a hole at what I assumed was the end point, and another hole over here. If those were not the end points, then definitely would have just ended up being where the crack terminated at. Then right here, there was no damage over here. That was me, in my immense wisdom, deciding to drill it here to completely drain the oil. And I learned you can never completely drain it. And because the drain plug is over here, I did my best to have it have it trickle down there. But so far it's looking good. Let me see. Sadly,
I would say it's due for another oil change. Why? Well, because for one, I'm about to wrap this thing up. I'm about to put an undercover. I wouldn't want it to drive around all exposed. Over here, I mean, it looks good. Just don't like how I did that. I mean, I had made this, then I noticed it was getting a little damp, so I went back and put this one on. That's why there's like a layer here. This one was put on before this one here. So it's not pretty, but boy, it is pretty functional, right? I'm pretty happy with everything. Yeah, I don't want to really keep messing with that, but it looks stable, you know. Yeah, even picking at it, it's not really going anywhere. I bet if I chisel it out, it's going to move, but that's just asking for trouble. If you keep trying hard, it's going to happen. So I think that's that. I'm going to go ahead and drain the oil. As I said, when I get back, I suppose I need to drive this car to go get the oil. And so right now, the oil change was at 5, you know, on the 20th. Today is the 22nd. 195,000 miles, 601, or 195,601 miles. Same thing down there. I just wrote it again so you could see it a little better. Yeah, so there you go. I'll check the color of the oil. I did not like what came out. It looked a little too dark for me for 3,000 miles. So maybe this engine having sat for such a long time, I need to do it, you know, hit it with a oil change once or twice or something, or a couple more times, who knows. So for now, this is gonna be good. There is an item that's sold out there, which is they call the TBW undercover shield, but I'm going to go another level. See, I don't know if I've mentioned this in my older clips. This right here is meant to be your protector, at least for these components here under the pan. And I think under normal circumstances, this stabilizer bar should also protect you. But, you know, as you can see by the scratches, it got it well enough. So as a follow-up, as well as, you know, possibly more protection, I'm going to find a way to get something actually more rigid, something that will go from these mounting points, you know, some sort of a proper skid plate from here all the way through here. So through here. That's what I meant to say. Or, you know, I mean, that way it's more rigid, you know, protected from both places, right? From the front of the engine to here, and then, you know, thread something else so that you can put another undercover. I'll have something more rugged, better than the plastic shield for sure, and maybe an improvement over the aluminum shield that TBW sells. Good work, by the way, by that guy. Really appreciate the dedication he has for the Nissans and Infinitis. So, okay, I think this is it. I'm pretty happy with everything as it is, so maybe second oil change and call it good.